The Witness of Now, A European Dream by Michael Holzer. One gets up when fear is still asleep. Kick open the door and leave. No more looking back. No more thoughts of not being good enough. No more thoughts of a self-predicted future. Get out on the street right out of a dream. Further and further, no more looking back. Towards the horizon, the feeling of freedom in the heart. Nobody can lock us up. Nobody can deceive us. We are humankind. We are the love, and this love shared, we have the power to realize that one is born ready and that the perfect moment does not exist. Further and further, never stopped again, for a life that wants to be free. A homage to a free world. The great Hunter S. Thompson and my friend Paul Havele. Chapter 1. In this world, there's only one thing left that counts, and that is so strange if one considers that this one thing is actually not worth anything. It is that one thing that turns humans into little worms, myself by all means included. How could it come to the point where something that was supposed to serve us took over control so completely? And why is it so unimaginable that it was some people who invented that one thing? Or more importantly, how that one thing works? It is not due to the politicians why we ended up in this situation. They themselves operate in this system of the one. The reason why the world finds itself in this situation, in which a rich individual is being looked at as worth something, while a poor individual is basically seen as scum, is money. At the beginning of the monetary system, the value of the monetary medium was still within the medium. A gold coin was not made of gold for no reason. One could borrow these coins from the bank to conduct business. Then, after a certain time, one would give the gold coin plus a lending fee back to the bank. A good idea. However, the coins which the bank wanted to have back as interest never existed. So in order for people to pay back the bank, they had to take the coins which the bank wanted for interest from other people who also asked the bank for money. Inevitably, in the end, some people could not pay back the bank because, again, the money they needed to pay the interest simply never existed. They went into debt. The system was therefore, from the very beginning onwards, constructed in a way that made people exploit one another. As a next step, for people not to carry around the heavy gold coins, the bank invented money. Money, paper that represents the value of gold. A value paper. Again, a very good idea. Instead of carrying around a heavy bag of gold coins, one could ask the bank to store the coins in a safe and get a value paper which would represent the value of the gold. 1913, the banks managed to do what the alchemists failed to do. Instead of turning something into gold, the banks turned gold into something, namely money. Through a certain act which was signed under secrecy in 1913, the principle of money was abolished. Ever since, money is no longer representing the value of gold and can therefore no longer be seen as a value paper, but rather just as paper. Through that, the bank can lend as much money as it wants, because it is not worth anything anymore. Only that the bank kept this little secret to itself. There are beggars, millionaires, billionaires, and those who invented it. Someday the paper will disappear, and what remains are the numbers. Gold turned to paper, and paper will turn to numbers. According to this logic, a gold coin could have also been made of tin. Money rules the world, and if anybody could change something, then it would be those who invented it. But those people won't do that. So their goal seems to be to keep people in the state of dependency. To keep him and her in a job where they sell their life hour after hour, of course always having the chance of a raise, and in the evening are so exhausted that they happily submit to entertainment which, in an easygoing manner, explains how one is supposed to endure the kind of life he or she is living. This insanity has become the norm, and if today you concern yourself with more than just your bank balance, your appearance, and of course your partner's appearance, you will soon be a conspiracy theorist who believes the Queen of England is a lizard. Heretic. Holy shit. 500 years ago, the thought of going to hell was why anyone who believed in the Roman Catholic Church would shit their pants if they did anything that went against these 10 commandments. Today, every person who is still halfway sane knows that religions originate in the human brain. Or if a believer ever gets to read this, are interpretations of astronomy. With our current God, it is basically the same. Since 1913, money has no longer been backed by the value of gold, but purely by our faith. It's worth something because everyone believes it's worth something, and what was ever worth more than our faith? Money is God, and considering that the dollar is worth exactly the same to a Christian, a Muslim, and a Jew, then God is indeed omnipotent. In a world of 7.5 billion people, an estimated 80.9 trillion in money, an overall market size of 630 trillion, and the fact that if all of this was shared fairly, each and every one of us would get 94,786,666,666 dollars, and by that we would all be fucking multi-billionaires. Basic income and health insurance would, with a bit of goodwill, certainly not be too much to ask for. However, there's still the $200 trillion debt that the whole world has. And who again do we owe the money to? It is a rather strange situation we're in. We idolize an illusion, belief in its value, and if we ask ourselves questions dealing with the essence, we call each other crazy. I don't know how life on this planet is evolving, but I would wish for people to become aware of their ability to do good in this world, before a tragedy, as we can see it with European fences, takes its course. Politicians who want us to believe that people from other places want to rape us. Advertising that lets us know that we are probably not quite as happy as we could be. Ideals that are created on screen and for this reason we will never live up to. An existential fear that drives us apart and fosters a competition that neither of us will ever win. It's the thought that it's us who can save this world, that we are the ones who can bring about the change we want by electing the right politicians, that it's our fault that the whole world is screwed and that we are the ones who now have to stay strong. This system is crazy, and if there's one thing I never wanted, it was to be considered normal in this sick system. Where would we be today if money hadn't become God? I could imagine that this life would follow different principles, that security would not be the most desirable thing in a life that most certainly will end in death. If people understood that we are all human and that the message of every religion is love, then a number of things would change on this planet. Then believers would pray under one roof, and sport would be the only area where man still fights man. War would be relegated to history, and we could use our full potential to realize our ideas. The term utopia is used too quickly today. Gandhi over. We've been screwed. The banks are the houses of faith, and the 150 million in the Europod, the salvation from all sins. Songs about money and asses, I can't hear them anymore. I don't believe in the healing of this system by some politician who once again found the right words. It all has to end in order to start again. Nobody knows how it will all end, but each of us should be aware that it will end. And I ask myself the question whether we should get involved with this system again after having been moved into self-sufficiency.